This might literally be the best news that AEW has ever had publicly available to fans. And quite honestly, I'm excited about it. And it's not about whether or not AEW is good product or bad product or WWE versus AEW, this and that. It's really about the thing that I talk about most, which is streaming numbers are way more accurate and able to be calculated than television numbers. Not every single person has a Nielsen TV ratings box that calculates their viewership. So when people say 600,000 viewers for AEW or 500,000 viewers for WWE or whatever it may be, that doesn't exactly mean that's how many people are watching or how many households are watching. Okay, it's a very small sample size. But today, somebody came out with AEW numbers on Max, and it could very well be accurate, and we're going to talk about it right here on the Ango Show. Before we get to the AEW numbers, we do got to talk about some canceled WWE plans. Carmella just recently revealed that she actually had a pitch with WWE. She spoke to Joseph Stasuski of the New York Press, and she actually revealed that there was a creative pitch for her to work with Elton Prince and Kit Wilson of Pretty Deadly. She goes on to talk about how she came up with a pitch. She pitched it to Pretty Deadly. They loved the idea. They were all on board. She said they were all working on ideas. So basically, they could take this to a head writer of WWE, and that's essentially what they did. And then basically, it was kind of met with WWE just not willing to do it or not wanting to do it and claiming there was a timing issue, whatever it may be. Which is actually kind of unfortunate because, to be honest with you guys, I really like Pretty Deadly and I do like Carmella. And maybe this could have been something that worked, especially for a while. It seemed like Pretty Deadly on the main roster really wasn't being utilized. Now, if you fast forward to current day, Pretty Deadly is involved for the tag team championships. So they very well could be having a WrestleMania match, Fatal 4-Way tag team championship match, DIY, Motor City Machine Gun, Street Profits. It could be really, really good stuff. But at the time, man, I remember watching Pretty Deadly get called up to the main roster, and they were doing some backstage segments, and that's kind of all we got from them. So it was really interesting. Really, really interesting. I don't know if this would have been a major success, but obviously Carmella being a veteran, being somebody who's a longtime WWE star, being somebody who's been able to thrive in comedic situations, it would have been very interesting to see how that would have worked. But the head writer, I guess, didn't really have the plans to do it, didn't really want to do it. Doesn't sound like these plans got, brought up to Triple H. Obviously, they had a plan, they want to do something, and it just simply didn't work out.
Now would be the best time to remind you that we have a major goal to hit 100,000 subscribers. Over 40% of the viewers who watch this channel are not subscribed. Please click subscribe if you enjoy staying educated on everything with wrestling news.
Okay, and that's going to take us to our next topic. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about it. Some great things on the horizon for WWE Backlash, which quite frankly, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't even know if I was that optimistic for this because WWE Backlash was not an international show. They were not carrying the tradition of Backlash becoming an international pay-per-view or PLE or whatever the hell you want to call it. But according to WrestleTix, as of now, there's been 11,264 tickets sold. That is really, really good considering there's only 3,700 tickets left. The venue in St. Louis is specifically set up for 15,045 tickets. And basically, WWE just completely jumped up in the past week. In fact, last week it was actually kind of worrisome because the ticket sales were good, but they weren't really showing that WWE was continuing the trend of sellouts. I think at this point there's almost 40 days, maybe 45, 50 days left until the event. WWE will probably end up selling Backlash St. Louis, and of course we do have Randy Orton and John Cena being advertised. So a lot of people are wondering, okay, how does this work with John Cena going up against, Cody Rhodes for the championship at WrestleMania? Backlash, obviously, historically, Randy Orton and John Cena. Randy Orton's from St. Louis. A lot of people are thinking, okay, does John Cena win the belt and Randy Orton's the next feud? How do we kind of go about that? Obviously, WWE is having a great surge in ticket sales, which is a huge indicator that the product is hot, right? If people are willing to spend this astronomical price to go to their events, that is a very, very fantastic thing. And one of my concerns, by the way, that I've kind of reiterated on this channel several times is the fact that I do genuinely believe that WWE has followed UFC in the sense that they are pricing out their events to the point where the hardcore audience is actually being priced out, and this very, very casual audience is being priced in, meaning these people who are down for the WWE experience are more willing to spend the money for it, which I think is a very significant thing because these ticket prices aren't cheap. And I wasn't that optimistic with Backlash because I felt like St. Louis is kind of an underwhelming announcement when you look at, Backlash in France or, Backlash in Puerto Rico. So like, this is one of those situations, man, where I didn't know if this event would actually be selling too hot, but it is selling very well. WWE will likely have a sellout here, which is fantastic for them. And again, this is what we want. We want a wrestling industry that is healthy. You want this level of success for everybody. WWE is continuing that momentum, which is a great thing. And that brings us to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. We got to talk about it. AEW WBD. This is a very, very, very interesting topic that is coming out because we have been waiting, and I have specifically been waiting to hear more about the AEW on Max streaming numbers. And the reason why I've been wanting to hear about the AEW on Max streaming numbers is for a variety of reasons. One, streaming, like there's an actual indicator of, okay, how many households, how many TVs, how many accounts are actually watching this, right? There is far more detail in the streaming numbers than there is in television. If you cannot understand that TV numbers are not highly accurate, then I think you are just in the bubble of tribalism and that's it. However, with Warner Bros. Discovery, we finally have a report of some numbers, and we don't know if this is accurate, but this is the first time where somebody other than Dave Meltzer is talking about AEW's numbers success. BJ Bethel from SE Scoops has come out and says that AEW Dynamite draws about 500,000 viewers on Max within the first 24 hours after it airs live. So I'm not looking at Dynamite on TV, and I'm not talking about WWE on TV, because right now that's not relevant. But specifically for the Max streaming service, this is according to sources that have come to BJ Bethel. We don't know the accuracy of it. However, if we just sit down and listen to this for a second and truly believe that this is true, that is astonishing. That is very, very, very good news for AEW. And the reason why it's very, very good news for AEW is because the Max streaming service is an indicator, and there should be indicators behind the scenes within Warner Bros. Discovery and their technology to track this information. They can see the minutes watched. They can see how many TVs have accounts logged in. They already know if people are sharing passwords and stuff. 500,000 for a show that is being simulcasted on TV. Yes, I'm sure there's people who no longer watch on traditional TV and watch on Max. I am one of them. But it does show you that there was a benefit of being added to the Warner Bros. Discovery library of the Max streaming service. And that's really the big thing here. It's not even about the viewership. It's about the fact that AEW actually saw a positive impact from being moved to the Max streaming service. I, for one, actually think AEW on Max is a way better visual than it is on traditional TV. I don't know what it is about streaming. Maybe the feed is just higher quality or whatever. I don't know. But my experience with it on Max has been very, very good. And I've said that about WWE on Netflix and AEW on Max. If you watch Collision or Rampage, well, not Rampage, but Collision or Dynamite, yeah, it's a far better visual experience watching on the streaming app. But the point that I'm trying to make is that this is a good indicator that being on Warner Bros. Discovery has actually been a benefit to AEW. And this is happening at a time where maybe the creative output from AEW isn't necessarily the best, but they're starting to catch a little bit of momentum and they're starting to improve in those areas. Imagine what that could be for AEW if they actually stick with consistent programming and really develop a sense of urgency with their product. That number will soar. And that's really good, honestly. That's really good. Now, I actually don't watch live every week. Sometimes I watch, like the DVR on demand version of Max, but it just depends, right? Like it's a good indicator though. This is the kind of stuff that you want Warner Bros. Discovery to put out. I do find it interesting that Tony Khan or Warner Bros. Discovery has not come out and talked about the numbers, especially if they're this good. So that is kind of a weird question that I do have as to why they're not touting about it. But at the same time, too, this is the first time that a source has actually come out. Now, I don't know BJ Bethel. He has dropped some other scoops in the past. I don't know his accuracy rate. I don't know if he's an AEW guy or not. I can't tell you guys whatsoever. But what I could say is this, and this is the most important thing about this specific topic, because I think a lot of people tend to not realize this when talking about the numbers and things like that. If these numbers are accurate, which I would say it could make sense. It doesn't seem unrealistic, right? But if these numbers are accurate, if I were AEW and if I were Warner Bros. Discovery, I would be talking about this. I would be blasting this out there. The way that they were blasting NXT in 2019 about having the highest viewership and this and that, I would be all out there letting the fans know that this is really the case, that AEW is growing significantly on Max. And I would use that as a way to sell the Max streaming service. I would use that as a promotional tactic to sell the Max streaming service. Hey, everybody's watching on Max. Here's the reason why. We have a great content library. We have other sports. We have this. We have that. We have so many different offerings. I would be using that to my benefit. I don't know why they haven't done that, but I'm going to take this as I do with anything else I say on this channel. Obviously, we don't really know for sure, but if this is true, it's a very, very good thing. And for AEW, I'm surprised that they're not bragging about it. But at the end of the day, I am happy about it because for me, it just goes to tell you everything I've been saying. A healthy wrestling business is a good one, and that makes everybody step up their game. And this should be, if this is true, Tony Khan should be looking at this and being like, all right, great, we got 500K. How can we get to 1 million on Warner Bros. Discovery? How can we get 1 million on Max? And that means Tony Khan will probably put in more effort to get there, which means us wrestling fans benefit from the fact that Tony Khan thrives to be even bigger and better. Don't get complacent, don't get comfortable, and we'll see what happens. But this is very, very good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ango Show.